out to Socrates. Socrates still trying to get the opening. Oh, Socrates! Whoa!
And there it is. The crazy gang have beaten the Culture Club.
Maggie Thatcher, can you hear me? Maggie Thatcher, your boys took a hell of a beating. Your boys took a hell of a beating.
Welcome to Your Boys Took a Hell of a Beating. This is what we will class as a subsection of our teachings at Your Boys Took a Hell of a Beating. Dave Bowler has joined me. Dave, we'll pin our colours to the mast here in just how we see a decade of football being. You know, it is, you know, we are right in doing it 1979, 80 to 88, 89, aren't we? A decade revolves around the years in which the trophies are handed out. So, you know, we're right in not doing this 1980, 81 to 89, 90.
Entirely correct, without a shadow of a doubt. The Open University would be proud of us.
They would be proud of us, and so they should be. Now, we are working on making this part of the syllabus at the Open University.
I think people have to watch this at 2:00 in the morning, really.
Yes,
to get the
totally. I am going to regrow the beard and all of that, I think. Yes, hence, a 1980s podcast is launching with a game in 1979. What we are doing with this subsection 1.01 of Your Boys Took a Hell of a Beating, it is 1979-80 revisited. We are going to go through as much of the season, episode or module by module, we should be saying. And we will take in as much as footage allows. And we can't start with anything else other than the 1979 curtain raiser and the Charity Shield, Dave.
Liverpool versus Arsenal, which in itself kind of sets up a lot of the decade, doesn't it, really? But
and especially this season, we're not going to go too far in advance, but I don't think this will be the last time these two are playing one another this season.
No, I think there are some big strolls to come later on. Oh, it is proper Charity Shield as well. When you sort of look back, it's what you think of as a Charity Shield. Obviously, gorgeous weather and all of that, and a proper Wembley Stadium, the real Wembley Stadium. Every time I watch a game from that era, I think, what the hell were they thinking when they built this new thing? I mean, everything about Wembley Stadium is that long walk up from the tunnel all the way across the pitch to the middle. During which Liverpool are having an absolute whale of a time. I mean, they're loving it. Terry McDermott's in stitches all the way to the centre circle. They're waving away, and then obviously you got the 39 steps to collect the shield and all of that. That made Wembley more than anything. There was drama in it all, wasn't there? And you don't get that now, I don't think.
No, it's got that proper sense of occasion, hasn't it? Like you say, that long walk is something else, especially in the sunshine. And then, like you say, this is an epically sunny day. You've got Bob Paisley on the bench in short sleeves. You've got a few bird chests on the terraces. 92,000 are in attendance for this, which is a record for a Charity Shield match at this point. I would have to look at the record books to see if there's this is superseded by any of the following ones throughout certainly the first half of the 80s, before the terraces become a little bit more threadbare as the decade goes on for Charity Shield matches. But this has absolutely this is my kind of reset. I know it's my team and all that, but I think if it had been other teams involved, if this game is laid on by two other teams, I'd still be thinking exactly the same thing, because it's my reset Charity Shield. It's the first one I remember, and it had so much going for it, so much style. I mean, we'll take a run through the two teams. The Liverpool team first. Liverpool, the league champions. Arsenal, the FA Cup holders. You are, and we will point out here that you are never FA Cup champions. You are FA Cup holders. That does my head in whenever I see such a thing referenced in terms of being cup winners. Winning the European Cup, different matter. You are champions of Europe. You can call yourself champions of Europe. Other than that, if you are a cup winner, you are the holder. You're not the champion of that competition. Liverpool. They've got Ray Clements in goal. It's back four of Phil Neal, Alan Kennedy. It's Phil Thompson, who is now officially the captain. He's captained Liverpool on many an occasion as vice-captain, but he now has the captain's armband with Emlyn Hughes' transfer to Wolves. Alongside him is Alan Hansen. It's that golden midfield of Graham Souness, Terry McDermott, Jimmy Case and Ray Kennedy. And up front it's David Johnson and Kenny Dalglish. Substitutes, an array of substitutes of Steve Highway, Steve Grizovic. It's David Fairclough, Avi Cohen and Sammy Lee. Frank McGarvey signed for £270,000 from St Mirren. Can't even force a way onto a 5-man substitutes bench there. Quite the portent of the year ahead for him, which we'll come to as we go along in these modules. Arsenal, a fantastic side of their own. Pat Jennings, Pat Bryce, Sammy Nelson. We've got David O'Leary and Steve Walford in central defence. Willie Young, nursing an injury, is amongst the substitutes. On this day, a midfield of Brian Talbot, Liam Brady, there's David Price and Graham Ricks on the wing, Alan Sunderland pushing forward from midfield in the absence of the now retired Malcolm McDonald, and it is Frank Stapleton as well with joining Willie Young on the bench. They've got the newly signed John Hollins, the talented but ultimately tragic Paul Vassam, Steve Gatting, who is clearly the most important sporting member of his family, and Paul Barron. Those two lineups, that's the thing. I mean, if you ask me to name the lineups of the Liverpool and Arsenal sides the last time they met in this season, I would struggle to name you probably half of the players involved. Certainly not many of the Arsenal players involved. These names just rattle off the tongue.
It is the glory days of the 11, isn't it, really? And 2 or 3 other fellas who play quite a lot, and then a couple more who might get half a dozen games between them. I think it is our vintage, of course, but I mean, I think that just gives you such a closeness, not just to your team, but to every team. If you just knew who was playing, you knew who they were, you knew everything about them, kind of thing, and that adds to every game. If you've got that sense of who's playing and their backstory and what's going on, that is all adds to the drama of it, and you don't get that now. I mean, how often have you seen a game where a team has made less than 3 changes from the last game now? Very, very rarely. And, the next game will be another 3 changes, but 3 different changes. It won't be the other 3 coming back. It'll be 3 more new ones coming in. And I think, you lose such a lot from that. I mean, to the extent that I was taken aback watching the footage that there were 5 subs. What the hell's this? 5 substitutes? What's going on here? Who are these people? We should have one.
Very, very continental of the FA organising committee for the Charity Shield.
Yeah, it was very very surprising. And then you look at the benches, and again, this is classic Wembley. They're sitting next to one another. They are literally sitting next to one another. Joe Fagan's next to Fred Street, I think it is, from Arsenal. They are just literally a butt cheek away from one another. And there's Don Howe in some unfeasibly short shorts, which should warn people about if they're going to go and find this, because you don't want to be seeing that at any time when you're about to eat.
It is a sartorially elegant bench as well as on the pitch. There are 2 magical kits as well. Arsenal playing in yellow at Wembley, during this period is the right thing as well. This is a game in which kind of like it's just epically decorated. Yes, you've got the reigning league champions. Yes, you've got the FA Cup holders, but you've got the FWA Player of the Year in Kenny Dalglish. You've got the PFA Player of the Year in Liam Brady. And before the game is even kicked off, there's Jimmy Hill handed over to Ray Kennedy, his silver salver for scoring the BBC's Match of the Day's goal of the season for the previous season.
It has got everything, hasn't it? I mean, it is absolutely the kind of game that you would want to start off the season. I mean, you mentioned the kits. Here we are. I'm going to bore away again, but it is just gorgeous to see football kits with no names on the back, no names on the front, no shoulder patches, no arm patches, no additional name across the. They're just football kits. Players wearing football shirts, and they look fantastic. They just
really do. Resplendent. 1 to 11, and yeah,
absolutely.
We're not seeing a number 38 anywhere or anything like that. This is what's the phrase that Obi-Wan Kenobi uses? More civilized age, undoubtedly. Also, reassuringly, the referee is George Courtney. I don't think it could have been any more fitting. I think the only thing we're missing here is Barry Davis on commentary. I think it's John Motson this day, which is all good as well, because he's a magnificent commentator in his own right. But yeah, I think only the addition of Barry Davis could have made this any more perfect.
Correct, entirely correct. And then the other thing is, as they come out, I mean, apart from Phil Thompson walking out, he looks like Big Bird from Sesame Street
He does.
with that perm.
That's voluminous. This is voluminous.
Not a wise hair decision, that really. But they all look so thin. You know, I mean, nowadays you see all these footballers who've obviously spent most of the week in the gym and they're bulked up and they're like, you know, weightlifters or whatever. These fellas are wiry. They look like middle distance runners or something, I suppose. It's, you know, when you just watch goal highlights or whatever from 30, 40 years ago, you don't really notice. But watching the whole game, they're so lithe. It's remarkable, really.
It really is. And I think it's that relation thinking that football is going to be that much slower. You know, as well, and the reactions and all that. I think especially in the reactions and the speed of thought, but nothing of the kind. You know, yes, obviously, you know, contemporary footballers are like they're a human version of a Formula One car. You know, in the way that they're souped up. But yeah, these are, you know, very fit footballers for the era. But there's no the sharpness of mind is just as translatable. This game for me, watching it back again. You know, it's very much certainly the first half that duel between Terry McDermott and Liam Brady in that midfield, that battle for supremacy in midfield, and you know McDermott comes thundering throughout this 90 minutes, Dave. Yeah,
I mean he's in prime form, isn't he? I mean he's absolutely magnificent. He's everywhere. He's in every frame of film, really. And you think somebody who's doing that much running, by the time they get to the ball, they'll be too knackered to do anything. But, you know, every time he gets the ball, he makes it count. Ultimately, to the extent that he scores the first goal. But the pace of that whole Liverpool team is extraordinary. I mean, you know, we've had this conversation before. I think that team that won the league 78-79 is the best Liverpool team. You know, others may disagree, but I think that is absolute prime Liverpool. And they, you know, here we are in the first game of the season, and they pick it up exactly where they left off. I mean, that watching that game on Match of the Day that night, the rest of the first division must have been terrified because they haven't missed a beat. This is just carry on where we were, you know, where we left off. They're fantastic. And Arsenal don't play badly. That's, you know,
not at all. They play their part in this game. I always of the mind that you know the straight man in a game of football sometimes in an imperious performance by the winners need a lot of kudos as well. I mean, I'll point to like Scotland in the 82 World Cup against Brazil, Liverpool themselves against Flamengo in the 81 Intercontinental Cup. You know, there's a lot of kudos in a beaten team in a game like this sometimes.
Absolutely. I mean, you know, Arsenal on another day against another opponent win the Charity Shield, I think, and you know they have chances here to discomfort Liverpool. I think Sunderland misses one when it's 0-0. That's a really good opportunity. But going back to thinking about those days, you just knew that Liverpool would come over the top here in the end. That just relentless thing that Liverpool always did. You know, it was always. I always used to think when the fixtures came out, I hope we're away at Anfield on the first day of the season because we can get it over and done with. And that might not be quite at the best by then. You know, we might get away with it because it's just that era where Liverpool really are unbeatable. Obviously, it's too big a phrase, but I mean they are just everybody's terrified of them. And you can see why when you watch this game.
Absolutely. I mean, like you say, Arsenal have their chances. You know, Alan Sunderland misses a golden opportunity very early on that he really should score. And later in the game as well, you know, he will get Arsenal's consolation. There's a free header for Stapleton after that. In a way, but yeah, Liverpool miss a raft of chances of their own. You know, Jennings is inspired at times. Liverpool are profligate at others. I think if every chance was taken at both ends that probably should have been taken, this ends around about 8-3 to Liverpool, this one.
It is a fantastic game. You know, you listen to the stereotypes and all the stuff that we've read since then, and you kind of think, yeah, it was a very staid, boring period. You know, it was, defences were on top in the 70s and the 80s. It was a negative game. And it's nothing of the kind. Yeah, and you still, again, one of the things that takes you back, the back pass rule is in there. The goalkeepers pick the ball up. What's he doing? Oh, yes. But that doesn't sort of slow the tempo of the game down at all. I mean, it's used in a positive way, really. So it's a really, if you wanted to have a game that showed the best of 1979-80, and this is the first game of the season, you couldn't do much better than pick this one anyway.
Absolutely. David Johnson misses we'll just run through some of those chances. The Alan Sunderland miss. David Johnson puts one over the bar from 6 yards. A great move in the build up to that one. He kind of leads with his right foot when he should have really gone with his left. There's Phil Neal, and then this was one of the things as well that struck me was that we talk about Trent Alexander-Arnold in contemporary terms and how he's a central midfielder come right back. Yet there's points of this game where there's Phil Neal doing exactly the same thing. He's popping up in central midfield positions. Alan Kennedy does the same from left back, and I think that's the difference between these two teams and these two performances. There is expansion within Arsenal, but within a rigid framework. Graham Rix does not drift from the wing. He might swap wings at times, but he is a proper touchline hugging winger. Whereas for Liverpool, there you've got Jimmy Case drifting in from the right into central positions, Ray Kennedy doing likewise from the left, David Johnson drifting out to wide positions, Dalglish will drop back, which allows McDermott to steam on. All of this, it's a degree of, and I've said before that for me, Bob Paisley is the English Lobanovsky plus some with his European Cups. There's a fluidity of a total football in many respects, whereas Arsenal, with a huge amount of talent at their disposal, it's almost like their players, Brady and Stapleton, Sunderland, Ricks, Brian Talbot as well, they are compartmentalised. You don't see Brady drift too far from the centre circle. You see Talbot pop up 30 yards from either goal, but he's up and down the pitch there's a textbook manner to this that is the difference between the two sides.
Arsenal are a very Don Howe drilled team. I mean, that's Don Howe through the ages. Really, everybody has a role, and you do that. You don't do anything else, pretty much. I'm glad you said total football. I was going to use total football, but I thought Gary Thacker might be listening, so I best not. But I think Liverpool have been playing total football for 6-7 years by this stage. Not just in the game itself, but Emlyn Hughes, what was he? Was he a fullback? Was he a centre half? Was he a midfield player? Tommy Smith played in midfield, played at centre half, played at fullback. You've got lots and lots of players within that Liverpool squad as it evolved through the 70s into the 80s who played 3, 4, 5 positions. Could argue any of them were their best position, and that showed up on the pitch. And as you said, there's a point where Phil Neal's basically playing inside right for as they come to create one of the chances, and Alan Kennedy is all over the place. He comes inside and causes all kinds of trouble. They're one of the first modern, in inverted commas, English football teams, probably the first. They're the first English club that's playing European football, really, I think, on a consistent basis. One or two other clubs have sort of tried it and come and gone, but they are playing proper, what you used to watch on Sports Night with Coleman on a Wednesday night. They're playing that kind of football. And I think that's one of the reasons why they were just so dominant for so long. It was a more sophisticated kind of game that they were playing, and most English clubs couldn't go. And going back to Don Howe, a fantastic coach, huge success, but very straight-jacketed in what he did. And, that's perhaps why England, when he was with England, never quite went on and did a bit more than they might have done, because it was always, we'll know what we're doing and we'll do that well, and hopefully that might be okay. But that always leaves you finishing in the quarterfinals, really. And that was obviously in a domestic situation. It's a bit easier to go further than that. But I think that was Don Howe's limitation. He was a great thinker about the game, a great coach, but it was always very much, I'm in control and you do what you're told. Yeah,
absolutely. But yeah, this game in so many respects was everything that Don Howe would not have wanted it to be. Further chances. Dalglish forced Jennings to save, fine save. There's a back post header from David Johnson that he puts over the bar. He should have got on target. Alan Kennedy, he puts one just over. A right-footed volley from the left back, which just goes to show the adaptability of these Liverpool players. Ray Clements at the other end makes a fine save from Stapleton, and O'Leary cross. This is the one occasion from the footage that I saw where an Arsenal player popped up somewhere I wouldn't have expected him to be, and that was David O'Leary. Basically on the right wing, swinging one in for Stapleton, which Clements gets the save. Liverpool then make the breakthrough. That ball from Ray Kennedy, that run from Terry McDermott on that finish. It's just got. I mean, these are just some of my. I think are there many games where you can, certainly from my perspective, to walk away from it and say every single goal there is aesthetically pleasing.
The run from McDermott and then the vision from Kennedy to give him the ball back. That pass that he then goes and scores. I mean, there's no defending that. You can't stop a team that plays like that and that play at the pace that they are. It's a glorious goal, and 2 or 3 of the saves. It's a shame that they were saved because they would have made fantastic goals as well. The missed chances. I mean, there is one point where, and again, this is a sign of the times, where John Motson has to point out that Pat Jennings is wearing gloves. Clearly, this is wrong. The goalkeeper should be wearing gloves somehow, which again sounds pretty peculiar these days. But the surface might be a bit greasy, so Pat Jennings has gone for gloves today.
Absolutely, not the given that it would go on to be. Amazingly, the game reaches half time 1-0. I will point out that when McDermott scores that opening goal, at the opposite end of the tunnel end, a big, huge red pyro goes off. They are not particularly new things. They've been lobbed into the equation for decades. From another export from Europe, from Liverpool's travelling support. Into the second half, again, Sunderland. There's an early chance, but it's easily saved from Ray Clements. There's another chance from McDermott. You've got a kind of confusion between Brian Talbot and Pat Jennings. Both are expecting each other to go for the ball, and McDermott almost benefits from it. Doesn't quite. You've got Alan Hansen putting on the party tricks, dribbling his way past Liam Brady and Frank Stapleton, which is just if you just look for anything on YouTube when you come to watch this, just look for Hansen weaving his way through that midfield. You've got Alan Kennedy putting one just wide after a magnificent passing move. Again, it's what's striking is that there's some potential goal of the season contenders here if the ball hits the back of the net. And then you've got the intriguing injury of Sammy Nelson, Dave. Run us through that. Really bespoke, very original, and I don't think I've ever seen such an injury since.
It's a very peculiar one. It happens in the centre circle, and he gets shoulder dummy by Terry McDermott, I think it is, and he slides through, and he's left in a heap on the ground for minutes because the game carries on for ages. I mean, none of this kicking the ball out, any of that sort of nonsense. He's just there writhing, and he just what on earth he's done to himself? I've no idea because all he's done is a sliding tackle missed. And, perhaps he's just embarrassed himself.
It's wounded pride rather than actually kind of like physical injury there.
But it's when he actually comes off, he limps off, and he's set there on the bench, and they occasionally pan to the bench during the second half. And he's there like he's having a nervous break, and he looks like he's in tears. I don't know whether it's just the sheer shock of of being dummied like that in the centre circle in front of the entire nation, or what it is. I mean, I'm sure I'm doing Sammy Nelson a disservice. It was a terrible injury, but
there must be something that we've missed there, some kind of glancing blow or something, an elbow to the head or something. But
his cruciates must have fallen off or something.
it does very much just look like it's kind of like a devastation of having just been comprehensively done up like a kid.
And then Willie Young comes on
who's only half fit.
Who at the end of that season is going to make himself the public enemy number one by knocking Paul Allen over at the cup final. So he's the bookend to the season, really.
He absolutely is. Soon enough, it's 2-0. Alan Hansen plays his part in this. Steps out of defence brilliantly. Dispossesses Alan Sunderland of the ball. Beats Alan Sunderland to the ball. Plays Dalglish in. And this is just prime Dalglish for me. It's if someone says Kenny Dalglish, there's a handful of goals that will automatically pop into my mind, and this is way up there. It's the way that he turns and just sits Steve Walford down on the ground, and by right, Steve Walford should just be in a crumpled heap in tears, drifting off to the substitutes bench a couple of minutes later after this one. And then this sumptuous finish past, an exposed Pat Jennings. Such a good goalkeeper as Pat Jennings to be able to put that goal. And that's the thing. Pat Jennings is the best goalkeeper of his era. For me, and it takes 3 magnificent goals to be put past him. And this one from Dalglish is just magical.
What can you say about Kenny Dalglish? It's everything you expect from him, isn't it, in the finish? But I mean, for me, it's that it's Alan Hansen, the winning the ball and waltzing forward into enemy territory and setting things going. I mean, I understand why Alan Hansen didn't get a million Scotland caps, because he was competing with Miller and McLeish, who were a team. They basically came as a pair. But my God, have we had any better defenders than Alan Hansen in this country? I can't think.
Not in a Liverpool shirt. Certainly not in a Liverpool shirt. I mean, Virgil van Dijk is a modern day version of Alan Hansen, and that's if you didn't live that era, the 1970s, 1980s, then that is the calibre of defender you're looking at. For my money, Alan Hansen was just a majestic central defender.
I mean, he's one of those players who, in a team with Kenny Dalglish, in a team with Ray Kennedy, Terry McDermott, Graham Souness, Alan Hansen is the man of the match most weeks, because he's just outstanding in every possible sense. I mean, he's a marvellous footballer and criminally underrated and forgotten, really, somehow now. I don't know how that's happened particularly. People talk about Alan Hansen and it's "you'll win nothing with kids," and there's no mention of his football, which is outrageous. I mean, if you want any now in an academy now, if you wanted to teach kids how to be central defenders, show them lots of films of Alan Hansen, and it would still work.
Absolutely. And Liverpool don't stop there. It's ruthless. 3-0, Terry McDermott again. Another trademark delayed run. Dalglish, he dispossesses it's Liam Brady this time, who takes the ball off. Links with David Johnson. David Johnson almost trying to be apologetically getting out the way of the move in many respects, and Dalglish squares this ball. McDermott runs onto it, and it's low. And maybe it's the one goal that Jennings possibly should have done better with, but it's a powerful shot. Again, the Arsenal goalkeeper's exposed. It's again another fantastic move, and John Motson, then declares it to have been Liverpool now have turned the Charity Shield into an exhibition. And it's McDermott as well. It's the celebration, the pure joy that's involved that always kind of like won me over. As a Liverpool fan of that era, we were always allowed King Kenny. He's the king. He doesn't have to be your definitive favourite player. You don't have to be everyone's favourite player if you're the king, because you are the king. It's a God-given right. We all had our favourite player beyond Kenny Dalglish, and for me it was McDermott because of this exuberance of play.
Let's say, I mean, he was having the time of his life that day. From when they were walking out at the start of the game, out of the tunnel, right to the finish, he was having the best possible time you could have of any football. There's a moment around about that goal, and that goal actually it reminds me of Lato against England to Poland.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Shades of Peter Shilton in Jennings going down in Storm.
I would never say about Pat Jennings.
You can't say that; it's sacrilege. Yeah, you can say that about Shilton. You can't say it about Pat Jennings.
There's a moment around about then where Brian Talbot takes his shin pads off. It's a very hot day, says John Motson, and starting to get to the play. I'm thinking, Jimmy Case and Graham Souness are in that midfield. You're taking your shin pads off. Are you out of your mind? But anyway, that's what he does. Yeah,
I think we have properly reached bewildered territory there. You've got to question your life choices in taking those shin pads off at that point in time. Arsenal do get the consolation. It's a well-worked goal. That Frank Stapleton Alan Sunderland puts in. Bizarrely, Frank Stapleton could have made it 3-2 right at the very end. Like I said, we said at the start, Arsenal don't disgrace themselves in this game at all.
No, they play really well, actually. As I say, against pretty much any other opposition, you'd fancy that Arsenal would have won the game, but they were up against too strong a force on the day, and they missed 2 or 3 good chances. Sunderland takes the one in the first half. Maybe it is a little bit of a different game, but the old saying of it's a great advert for English football, in this case it actually was.
Absolutely it was. In the build-up to the game, quick look at the back page headlines, Dave, and you pick us out anything that stands out. I mean, I looked at it and think, I don't envy you this, because it's ludicrous what was on the back pages in the build to this. Keegan Schock, injured while out on a run with his dogs, could miss the start of the Bundesliga season. Ray of Hope, Ipswich Town are pressing Chelsea over a projected move for Ray Butch Wilkins. Manchester United are loitering in the background. Everton are also interested. Lee Switch jolts Todd. Colin Todd and Gordon Lee have a difference of opinion, shall we say, prior to a pre-season friendly at Port Vale. Lee wants to field the defender on the left-hand side of defence rather than the right, where he's at his strongest. Todd does not play. It sets in motion an eventual transfer. But before the week is over, Lee has also had transfer requests from Bob Latcher, Mike Pedgick and Dave Thomas. There's unrest at Goodison. Sorry, Paul McParl. Albion agrees a £200,000 deal. Ron Atkinson agrees a £200,000 fee with Hadjuk split for goalkeeper Ivan Katalinic. Doesn't quite come off that one. Is the golden one. Clough kidnap threat. He is under threat of kidnap by Basque separatists while Nottingham Forest are in pre-season action in the Basque Country. There's further Ray Wilkins news as he gets annoyed at the fact that Chelsea knocked back a £700,000 bid from Manchester United. Chelsea value him at $750 and will not budge. Tony Curry signs for QPR. Doc snaps up Curry £400,000. Aston Villa transfer list: John Gibman and Andy Gray. Dave, anything in particular there that stands out? There's a protracted Ray Wilkins dealings, relegated Chelsea. Clough kidnap threats, Keegan and his dogs, Everton. What's the word we want to look for? And not upset Paul McParl and dysfunction. Take your pick, Dave.
We must return to Brian Clough in a second, but I mean the Albion agreed 200,000. I remember this well because this was just a con. It was basically Tony Godden wouldn't sign a contract, so for the Albion centenary game against Ajax at the start of the season, which in typical West Brom fashion, we then found out was a year too late because the centenary should have been the year early. But that's by the by. Somehow we managed to register Ivan Katalinic to play in that game, just to upset Tony Godden, who then went and signed himself a deal after all, and we didn't bother having Katalinic at all in the finish. So that's really...
Katalinic would soon tip up at the Dell at Southampton. He would get his move to English football.
But Brian Clough, under threat of kidnap by Basque separatists.
Who do you fear for worse, the most there, Dave? Do you fear for Etta, or do you fear for Clough?
I mean, Clough would have had a new career as the Che Guevara of the Basque separatists, couldn't he? Really, I mean, he would have had him immediately called yourself separatist. You're a bloody disgrace. He'd have sent for John McGovern, and they would have had independence within the year, I think.
Absolutely. I mean, do we think that Peter Taylor would have been pleased to see Clough disappear for a little bit?
He might have given him a little bit of a break for a few weeks, but God, can you imagine? All the Basques would be speaking English now, of course, by this time. But.
Absolutely. And our last act of this module 1.01 of Your Boys Took Hella Beating. TV, Dave. ITV is off the screen. They've just headed unwittingly into an 11-week dispute with technicians that'll keep them off air, and half the football that we would be available to us in that respect. Match Today's not on until 11 o'clock. Your rundown of potential programmes while we're waiting. Just a quick run of what was on Grandstand as well. FA Charity Shield preview. Hunter Trials, the Abbey Life Championship, Great Britain. There's racing from Haydock, International Rugby League, New Zealand versus Great Britain, sailing, the Admiral's Cup, athletics, the UK National Championships, international swimming at the Europa Cup, motorcycling preview of the British Grand Prix. So yeah, plenty of action on Grandstand. Obviously no live football from Wembley. Into the evening, you've got Jukebox Jury with Noel Edmonds, The Hunchback of Notre Dame movie, 1958, Seaside Special starring Rod Hull and Emu, and then it's Sword of Justice. I don't remember Sword of Justice. Blackjack. Jack Cole uses modern technology to try to retrieve stolen money before it becomes legitimate. BBC Two would have been your only other option on this particular day. They are throwing out The Silent Witness, an investigation into the Turin Shroud mystery, followed by 8:15 Hitler, a film from Germany.
Yes, they were the better days when Hitler was only a film from Germany.
Well, anything that's going to interest you before Match of the Day there, Dave?
I think it's the Turin Shroud. That's pretty much it, really. Having seen it in Turin itself, then yes, I think that's the one, because otherwise you made your own entertainment back then.
Absolutely. Mid-August it would have been daylight until about 10 o'clock anyway. We can go and kick a ball around.
That's true.
And then come in for some cheese on toast and Match of the Day. Excellent. Great work. Dave, enjoyed it? That's been
good. It was we were fortunate. It was a glorious game to begin with, but yeah, it's been good fun.
Absolutely fantastic. This has been module 1.01, Your Boys Took Hella Beating, subsection 1979, 80 Revisited. Please spread the word. and there will be more from us very, very soon. Thank you and goodbye.